Have a baby by me, baby.
Have a baby by me, be Israel. Shalom and most high blessed to you guys. This is your girl Neftali coming back with you with another video. And we're going to be talking about the seed of the father doctrine. And I'm going to be debunking this doctrine today. So these camps are out here teaching and preaching that through the seed of the father is how you can determine who is an Israelite. Meaning, it doesn't matter what race, tribe, nationality, or creed the mother is, that child is an Israelite. Which tells men that the Israelite woman doesn't matter. That you can marry the snow bunny and the rice bunny and your child will still be an Israelite. So in other words, these men are teaching that they can save people and make Israelites through their sperm or seminal fluid, something they teach that Christ can't even do through his blood. Sounds pretty anti-Christ and anti-Israel to me, because all they're doing is destroying the Israelite bloodline. So today I will be debunking the seed of your father doctrine by proving that Numbers 1:18 is speaking about Israel going to war, not about how the offspring of Israel is determined. In addition to that, I will be showcasing that the woman has a seed too, and proving that Israel is determined by the seed of the mother and the father. And last but not least, I will be revealing that the women the Israelite men marry determine the outcome of their offspring. So come on, guys. Now let's get started. All right, let's get into this. So we're going to start with the book of Numbers, chapter 1, and this is chapter 118. This is the scriptures that they like to utilize and prove that the seed of the father is how Israelites are determined. So let's take a look at this chapter. So Numbers 1:18. It says, "And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the numbers of the names, from 20 years old and upward by their polls." Well, a lot of what they leave out is the book of Numbers, chapter 1, is speaking about Israel going to war and how the Most High had them to be numbered according to their fathers' houses. But not only their fathers' houses, it also says the pedigrees after their families and by the house of their fathers. So it talks about their families as well. But here in chapter 19, it says, "As the Lord commanded Moses, so he numbered them in the wilderness of Sinai. And the children of Reuben, Israel's eldest son, by their generations after their families, by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names, by their polls, every man from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to what? War." This is not talking about offspring as far as their children. It also says here in Numbers chapter 1:21, "Those that were numbered of them, even of the tribe of Reuben, were 46,500. Of the children of Simeon, by their generations and after their families, by the house of their fathers, those that were numbered to them according to the number of the names, by their polls, every male from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to what? War." So of course it mentions the men of Israel and the house of their fathers, because only men are the ones that are going to war. So this whole thing about Numbers 1:18 proving that this is about the seed of the father, no, this is about the seed, the males to war, and they're talking about the men and getting them prepared for going to war. It has nothing to do with offspring as far as determining who's an Israelite or not. But let's keep going. You know, the woman has a seed too. Yes, the Bible and science agree. So here in Genesis 3:15, KJV, it says, "And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel." Also in the Wisdom of Solomon 7:2, it says, in my mother's womb was fashioned to be flesh in the time of 10 months, being compacted in blood of the seed of man, and the pleasures that came with sleep." So right here is speaking about the process of the baby being within the woman's womb, and also the being compacted in the blood and the seed of man, which talks about mankind, which talks about the mother and the father. And Genesis 3:15 speaks on the her seed and thy seed, so the male seed and the woman's seed, which talks about meiosis, which is what science talks about, which the woman's seed is the egg, which is 23 chromosomes, and the male sperm, which has 23 chromosomes, which forms the zygote, which is the fertilization, which forms the human, which is 46 chromosomes. So all of it agrees, science as well as the Bible. So the Bible does speak of the woman having a seed. So what does all this have to do with anything? All right, so let's talk about the curse of Eve. This was where all of this hierarchy with the male comes from, right? So we know that from Genesis 3:16, it says, "Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conceptions. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee." Now, with this one scripture here alone, a lot of the males like to put down the women and act like the women do not matter. However, they do. With this scripture alone, we can showcase that not only do the blessings of the mother get passed down to the children, but also their curses. So we see that with Eve, the curse of Eve was passed down to all women. So meaning if you marry a Canaanite woman, her curses will still pass down to the so-called Israelite child that they had with this woman. And we will take a look at these scriptures to see how that actually did occur, and the blessings that also passed down through the mother, how that actually did occur within the Bible. So let's continue on. All right, so we see here that Aaron married an Israelite woman and had his sons, and they were priests. So Aaron had married Elisheba, and she was the daughter of Amnadab, and sister of Nahashon, of the tribe of Judah. So Aaron married a Judite woman, and guess what? All of his children were priests. Now let's move on. Let's take a look at King Solomon. This is a good example to look into. Take a look at King Solomon right here. So King Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. Now, that's a lot of women. That's about 1,000 women that he was dealing with that was made note of, okay? You know, we don't know the miscellaneous that was in there, if that's not even enough. But here we have 700 wives and 300 concubines. Out of those 1,000 women, only 3 or 4 children are recognized. This right here lets you know the importance of the woman. As much as they want to act like the woman doesn't matter, we see right here, out of the 1,000 women that Solomon, 700 women that he married and 300 concubines, they don't list all the children that he had. I'm sure he had more than these 4 that are documented. So it says here, King Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines, a large number of whom were foreigners. So he married a lot of foreign women. His most prominent wife mentioned in the Bible was Naamah, an Ammonite. And this is a Shemitic woman, by the way. And the mother of his heirs, Rehoboam. Many of these wives, particularly in his later years, turned his heart towards other gods. So It said he had 700 wives, many of whom were princesses, and 300 concubines. His prominent wife, Naamah, is the only wife explicitly mentioned in the Hebrew Bible as having borne a child, which was his successor, Rehoboam. Naamah's background: she was an Ammonite woman, a departure from the norm, as most of Solomon's wives were from various foreign nations, leading to his later idolatry. So what can we conclude from this, family? King Solomon liked the foreign women. He liked the strange women, the exotic women, right? But guess what? The woman he married, the Shemitic woman, was the mother, or the woman that was recognized. Her children were the ones that were recognized. You can have as many children as you want. You can have as many wives as you want, but the Most High is only going to recognize the ones that he wants to recognize. And as we see, that is from the Shemitic bloodline. As we see here, Rehoboam was the one that became king, and he was of a Shemitic woman. All right, but let's just keep going. Now let's take a look at King Rehoboam, the son of King Solomon. Guys, trying to pull that up for you right there. He was the son of King Solomon. Now he followed in his father's footsteps as far as having many women, but he didn't have 1,000, but he had 18 wives and he had 60 concubines. Now, according to the Bible, it says some of his wives were Mahalath, the daughter of Jeremoth, and Maacah, the daughter of Absalom. So he had 18 wives and 60 concubines. In total, they said he had 28 sons and 60 daughters. All right. So his favorite wife. So a lot of people who get out here and you get in these, polygynous relationships, unfortunately, males tend to have a favorite. And right here, the Bible recognizes that with Rehoboam. With his 18 wives and his 60 concubines, it says that he loved Maacah more. Okay. And she was the daughter of Absalom. So who is the Maacah? Well, she was, let's go over here. So it says Rehoboam had many children, including Abijah, Attai, Ziza, and Shelemith, who were sons by his wife Maacah, a daughter of Absalom. He also had 3 sons with his wife Mahalath, Jeush, Shemariah, and Zahim. Overall, he fathered 28 sons and 60 daughters from 18 wives and 60 concubines. So right here we see 3 sons. And also he had, about 7 children. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's count together. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 children were mentioned out of the 68 in the Bible. All right. And from both of these women, they both were Israelite women. Okay. So only 7 of King Rehoboam's 88 children are mentioned in the Bible, and they are by 2 of his Israelite wives. And remember, I mentioned his favorite wife, Maacah, and King Rehoboam's son, Abijah, which with his Israelite Judite wife, Maacah, was named chief prince and became king. So that Israelite Judite woman, okay, that he married out of all his 18 wives, the Israelite woman is who his son Abijah was named prince, chief prince. And only 7 of these children are mentioned in the Bible or recognized. We have to remember that. So all these men get up here and they talk about, all these teachers get up here and they talking about, oh, it doesn't matter. The woman does matter. And as we notice right here with King Rehoboam, his Israelite wife is where his son came from. And if we go back, King Solomon had a Shemitic wife. That's where Rehoboam came from. The Most High wants to keep his line pure. What's wrong with that? Absolutely nothing. But these so-called leaders and teachers want to teach as if the woman doesn't matter. But let's keep going. Let's take a look at Jacob. Jacob had 2 wives and 2 concubines. All were Shemite women, and they're the ones who established the 12 tribes of Israel. So even though he had 4 women, they all were Shemites. Again, the woman does matter. But let's keep going. Now let's talk about old Esau. Let's talk about old Esau. Esau is a really good conversation because according to their doctrine, Esau plays a major role, okay? They say that Esau is the end of the world. They say that Esau is the so-called white man. So let's take a look at Esau and who he married. So Esau had Canaanite wives and an Ishmaelite wife. So here we look at Genesis 36:2. It says Esau took his wives of the daughters of Canaan, Adah, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon the Hivite. And it says here in Genesis 26:34, and Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Bashemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. In Genesis 28:1, it says, and Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. So right here it speaks of how Isaac told Jacob not to marry these Canaanite women. But we see Esau was having a field day with these women. However, in Genesis 28:8-9, and Esau seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father. And then Genesis 28:9, it says, then when Esau unto Ishmael took unto the wives which he had Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebajoth, to be his wife. So once he realized that this did not please his father, he went on and married a Shemitic woman. However, in Jeremiah 49:10, it says, but I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. So a lot of these camps, a lot of these leaders want us to believe that the reason why Esau is spoiled is because of the idolatry, of all of that. However, his seed is spoiled because it is written that you're not supposed to marry the Canaanite women. But remember, we got somebody out here teaching that King David married a Canaanite woman. And I got a video specifically about that. So just hold on. We'll have that one coming right up, because King David did not marry a Canaanite woman. And that was a bold-faced lie that Deacon Priest Genesis is out here teaching. Shame on him. But let's get back to Esau. So did Esau have Canaanite wives? Yes, he did. And it's kind of hard to determine if he had 3, 4, or 5, because a lot of them say that, Aholibamah is probably the same one as Judith. But it doesn't matter. The thing is that we see here that he had Adah, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon. Esau was 40 years old when he took Judith, the daughter of Beeri, and Bashemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. So right here we see that. And another thing that I find very interesting with these camps and what they teach when they talk about Esau, they like to say that, the reason why we look the way we look, Judah look the way we look, is because we mix with Canaanite.
I'm African, from the Hamite nations. Our kings sold your people to Europeans in the Atlantic slave trade. The records show it, but y'all waking up now.
However, Esau was able to remain to be Caucasian, remain to have the Nordic, the blonde hair, blue eyes, after marrying who they say the quote unquote black woman or Canaanite woman, African woman.
I'm Caucasian, from the nation of Esau. You pushed Eurocentric beauty, told you your hair was wrong, and led feminism that broke your homes. But y'all waking up now.
who they make as the most darkest skinned woman. Make all that make sense to me, guys. But anyway, I'm not even here to talk about that. Let's just talk about Esau and his line and what happened to him, right? So we saw his wives. So let's keep going. So the Edomites were the successors to the Horite Hivites. Yes. Esau succeeded the Horites and the Hivites. He took on their lineage. Pretty much he took on their structure, how they carried themselves and how they named themselves. He took that on. A lot of these so-called camps and leaders, they teach that Esau, they say the dukes and all that, but the dukes, that name and that title, it came from the Canaanites. It came from the Horite Hivites. It came from them. And the Bible explains that. And I'm going to get into that. Also, they love to talk about how Esau is a troglodyte. Meanwhile, a troglodyte is a Horite Hivite. Again, if you're going to say that Esau is a Horite, if you're going to say that Esau is a caveman, which is a troglodyte, and try to say how they say white people or so-called Caucasian people are cavemen, but then they got it from the Canaanites. They got it from the Horite Hivite. Make it make sense, guys. They don't want you to put it together, but we're going to put it all together for you and lay it out. So here we go. Esau took his wives of the daughter of Canaan, Adah, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon the Hivite. That's again in Genesis 36:2. Now, Genesis 36:20, it says, these are the sons of Seir the Horite who inhabited the land. So here we have the sons of Seir the Horite, and the Horite is a Hivite, which is a Canaanite. It says who inhabited the land. So we have Lotan, Shobal, and Zibeon, and Anah. So let's keep up with this name, Zibeon. Now, Genesis 36:29. These are the dukes that came of the Horites. Duke Lotan, Duke Shobal, Duke Zibeon, and Duke Anah. So who were the dukes before? They were the Horites, because remember, the sons of Seir the Horite were Lotan, Shobal, and Zibeon. And then when we go back even further to Genesis 36:2, it tells you that Esau took his wife of who? The daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon, the Hivite. So right here we see that Zibeon is a son of Seir the Horite, right there. Zibeon is listed in Genesis 36:20. And then we see here that Zibeon, who was who? The grandfather of Aholibamah, who was Esau's wife. He was a duke. But then when we go here to Genesis 36:15, it says, these were the dukes of the sons of Esau. So Zibeon the Hivite, being older, right? And he was the grandfather of Aholibamah. He was the grandfather of Aholibamah. We see that he was a duke, which now we see that what happened, Esau took on the heritage or the line of Aholibamah. And that's why the Most High always says that he didn't want us intermarrying with these people, with the Canaanites, because he was afraid that we were going to take on their gods. We were going to take on their customs, their cultures, and their ways. And we see right here, that's exactly what Esau had done. He took on the ways of the Hivite. Now, a lot of you may say, well, look, Natalie, it says a Horite here, and then it says a Hivite here. There's no contradictions here. A Horite is exactly a Hivite. As we see here, Zibeon is a Hivite, and he's the son of Seir the Horite. Horite is just like a nickname, which means troglodyte, which means cave dweller, which is like caveman. However, the Hivite is the actual tribe, which is the tribe of Canaan. Okay, so right here, we see Aholibamah's grandfather was a Hivite, and we see who his grandfather's father was Seir the Horite. And we see that the Horites were the original dukes, in Genesis 36 and 29. And then we see here in Genesis 36, 15, these were the dukes of the sons of Esau, the sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau, Duke Teman, Duke Omar, Duke Zepho, and Duke Kenaz. And again in Genesis 36, 19, these are the sons of Esau, who is Edom, and these are their dukes. So, the dukes were originally the Horite Canaanites. Try saying that 3 times, right? Horite, Hivite, Canaanite. After Esau mixed with Aholibamah, the Horite, Hivite, Canaanite, Esau's children inherited the title Duke. So right there, we see how the mother, that Canaanite woman, played a role, major role, in his children. But let's take it a step even further. Let's talk about King Judah. Let's talk about our elder King Judah. And then we're going to take our time with this one. We kind of went fast with those other ones, but this one really is the one that actually really matters, because a lot of them want to say, and a lot of them are out here teaching that the reason why we got this brown skin, the reason why we got these Negroid features, the kinky hair, all of that is because we mixed with the Canaanites. Judah mixed with the Canaanites. But aren't the descendants of Judah really mixed with Canaanites? And a lot of you are going to say, well, yeah, Naphtali, he married a Canaanite woman. Duh. Well, let's take our time and let's actually look into Genesis 38. So, Genesis 38 and 1. It says, and it came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned into a certain Edomite, whose name was Hera. And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua. And he took her and he went into her. And she conceived and bare a son, and he called his name And she conceived again and bare a son, and she called his name Onan. And she yet again conceived and bare a son, and called his name Shelah. And he went at Shezib when she bare him. So that was Genesis 38 through 5. So right there, it clearly states that Judah married a Canaanite woman, and she had 3 sons with him, Onan, and Shelah. Checkmate, right? That should be done. But no, the story goes on. Let's keep going. So it says, King Judah had a Canaanite wife. Our descendants of Judah mixed with Canaanites continue. So let's continue on with that. So Genesis, we're going to go through 6 through 10 now. We just read 1 through 5. Let's read 6 through 10. It says, and Judah took a wife for his son, his firstborn, whose name was whose name was Tamar. All right, so he took a wife for his firstborn son, and her name was Tamar. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Most High, and the Most High slew him. So the Most High killed him, baby. He killed him. He was like, you're gone. So in Genesis 38:8, it says, and Judah said unto Onan, go into thy brother's wife, and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother. So, and Onan knew that the seed should not be his, and it came to pass when he went into his brother's wife, that he spilled it out on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother. And the thing which he did displeased the Most High, wherefore he slew him also. So the Most High not only slew boom, gone. He also slew Onan, boom, gone. So that's 2 sons. So Judah had 3 sons with his Canaanite wife. The Most High slew or killed 2 of them, leaving 1. All right. This is getting good, right? Let's keep going. So, King Judah had 1 son, Shelah, and no wife. What do you mean no wife? Let's read Genesis 38:11. Then said Judah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow at thy father's house till Shelah my son be grown. For he said, lest peradventure he die also, as his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. And in the process of time, the daughter of Judah's wife died, and Judah was comforted, and went up unto his sheep shearers to Timnath, he and his friend Hiram the Adulamite. So right here, it let us know that in Genesis 38:12, that Judah's wife, the Canaanite, had died. So what does that mean? Judah's wife with the Canaanite woman had died, and who he had left was one son with the Canaanite woman. And we also have Tamar. Now, Tamar was supposed to go to Shelah, but what ended up happening is he told Tamar, hey, wait till my son gets older, go ahead and then wait for my son. And once my son gets older, I will give him to you. But what happened after that? Let's go. So Genesis 38 continued. We're going to go from 38:13 through 19. So Tamar tricked King Judah into sleeping with her. So this story gets very spicy, gets very interesting, right? Not only did all of Judah's children, 2 of his sons died and his wife died, he did not want to give Tamar to his son because he felt that she was cursed. He didn't want to give his son to her. But let's take a look at this. It says, and it was told Tamar, saying, behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnath to shear his sheep. And she put her widow's garment off from her, and covered herself with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place, which is by with the way of Timnath. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given unto him to wife. So Shelah was grown, and she realized, hey, she didn't wait all this time. And this boy, this is a man now. She's ready to be married off, and she's doing everything she's supposed to do. Meanwhile, she went on and changed her clothes. So I guess women back in that time had a widow wore a certain garment. So she took off that garment and then she put on a veil. Okay. So it says when Judah saw her, he thought her to be an harlot because she had covered her face. And he turned unto her by the way, and he said, go to, I pray thee, let me come into thee. For he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, what wilt thou give me, that thou mayest come into me? And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock. And she said, wilt thou give me a pledge till thou send it? And he said, what pledges shall I give thee? And she said, thy signet and thy bracelet and thy staff that is in thy hand. And he gave it to her, and came into her, and she conceived by him. So pretty much what she was saying is, if I allow you to, come into me, I need you to have, something to prove that this is yours, that you're going to hold up to, stand by what you're saying. So she took his signet, she took his staff, she took all of that. And she knew what she was doing. And she rose and went away, and laid by her veil from her. So she took the veil off, and then she put back on her garments of a widowhood. All right. So let's keep going. Now, Genesis 38:20 through 24. So it says, and Judah sent the kid by the hand of his friend the Edomite to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but he found her not. So, he sent the kid, he was like, hey, I can't find her. And then he asked the man of that place, saying, where is the harlot? So he's like, where is this prostitute? And he's like, there was openly by the wayside. He said there was openly by the wayside. And he said, there's no harlot in this place. And he returned to Judah and said, I cannot find her. And also the men of this place said that there was no harlot in this place. And Judah said, let her take it to her, lest they be shamed. Behold, I sent this kid, and thou hast not found her. And it came to pass about 3 months after, that it was told to Judah, saying, Tamar, thy daughter-in-law, hath played the harlot. And also, behold, she is with child by whoredom. And Judah said, bring her forth, and let her be burnt. So right there, he was mad. He was like, oh, no, she did not. She's supposed to be sitting over here waiting on my son that I'm never going to give to her, right? But she was supposed to sit there and wait for his son. She wasn't supposed to be out here being no hoe, right? But let's keep going. All right, guys. So we're back. Genesis 38. So it says, when she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, by the man whose these are, am I with child? And she said, discern, I pray thee. Whose are these? The signet and bracelet and staff. So remember, he was saying, let her be burnt. So she kept his ring, his signet, his bracelet. She kept all his jewelry and his staff, because she knew what she was doing. And in Genesis 26, it says, and Judah acknowledged them and said, she has been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shelah my son, and he knew her again no more. So it came to pass in the time of her travail that, behold, twins were in her womb. And it came to pass when she travailed that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound upon his hand a scarlet thread, saying, this came out first. So they have to put a scarlet on the one that came out first to recognize the one that's going to be the leader, the head, right? That's the same thing that happened with Esau and Esau and Jacob. All right, so here we go. And it came to pass as he drew back his hand that, behold, his brother came out, and she said, how hast thou broken forth? This breach be upon thee. Therefore his name will be called Pharez. And afterwards came out his brother that had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was called Zerah. So Tamar had twin sons with Judah. Okay, so yes, it was a lot of drama involved with all of that. Okay. But the thing is that she was seen to be more righteous. And it seems like the Most High really wanted this woman to be the head of the sons of Judah. And why is that? How can we prove that? Well, let's just keep on reading. So let's ask this question. So was Tamar a Canaanite woman? Now, like a lot of people teach actually that Tamar was also a Canaanite woman. If you were to Google, was Tamar a Canaanite woman? AI will tell you that they suggest that she was also a Canaanite woman. Here's why. It says, yes, the Bible strongly suggests that Tamar, the wife of Judah's firstborn son, was a Canaanite. Although her ethnicity is not explicitly stated in Genesis, Judah himself was married to a Canaanite woman, and he chose Tamar to be the wife for his son, indicating a likely pattern of intermarriage with Canaanites at that time. No, not true at all. It says Judah's marriage. The biblical text states that Judah married an unmarried Canaanite woman, which suggests he likely chose the Canaanite wife for his son as well. That's not a reason to say that Judah gave his son a Canaanite wife. That's not a good reason, okay? Just because they also say here, they don't really know where she came from. They don't really understand. So my thing is when you look at this graph they display, they have Judah and they have Tamar and they have Canaanite on top of her name. So they're actually putting it out there that he married a Canaanite woman. That he they're out here deliberately lying, saying that he gave his son to a Canaanite woman, and that's not true. And then when they say, well, it's because like this one here, it says, well, it was likely she was a Canaanite because she lived in Canaan. Well, we see Judah was there with his sons, so that means that there's also Israelites there too. So they want you to believe that he was sending his son to marry a Canaanite woman. But we're not going to just stop there, right? Because we like to dig and we like to really look into things. But I thought that was pretty interesting because a lot of these so-called teachers and leaders out here will leave it at that. They will say, well, Tamar was a Canaanite too. Tamar was not a Canaanite. There is no evidence in the Bible to support that. But why do you feel so comfortable with her being one is my question. But let's keep going. So we're going to go into the book of Jasher. I'm going to zoom in on this because it's pretty. So the book of Jasher, chapter 45, it states, and it was at the time of that year, which is the year of Joseph going down to Egypt after his brother had sold him, that Reuben, the son of Jacob, went to Timnah and took unto him for a wife Alaram, the daughter of Avery the Canaanite, and came to her. And Ularam, the wife of Reuben, conceived and bare him Hanak, Palu, Shetron, Kemi, 4 sons, and Simeon his brother took his sister Dinah for a wife, and she bare unto him Menuel, Yamin, Ahad, Jakin, Zochar, 5 sons. So here this is given a background to who married who. So right here we see that it says, afterward came to Bunah, the Canaanitish woman, the same as Bunah, whom Simeon took captive from the city of Shechem. And Bunah was before Dinah and attended upon her. And Simeon came to her, and she bare him Saul. So right here we're seeing a lot of males being with Canaanite women. So right here it talks about Judah, and it says in Jasher chapter 45 and 4, and Judah went at that time to Adullam, and he came to a man of Adullam, and his name was Herah. And Judah saw there the daughter of the man from Canaan, and her name was Eliath, the daughter of Shua, and he took her and came to her. And Eliath bare unto Judah Onan, Shiloh, 3 sons. All right. So right there, we see that Judah married, this talks about Judah and a Canaanite woman. Now, when we keep going down, it's going to give us some information about Tamar. So it says here in Jasher 45, verse 23. And in those days, Judah went to the house of Shem and took Tamar, the daughter of Elam, the son of Shem, for a wife for his firstborn So right there in the book of Jasher, chapter 45, verse 23, it tells you that he went to the house of Shem and he got his son a Shemitic woman. Now, did he take a Shemitic woman? No, but he went to the house of Elam. So right there we have a source that proves that Tamar was a what? A Shemitic woman. But when you look into AI, they don't mention anything of the book of Jasher. Now, I just saw a video. I didn't watch it, but I saw a video where Deacon was talking about not to read, the book of Enoch and the book of Jubilees and the book of Jasher. And he was saying, I just saw the title and he was pretty much telling people not to read that. However, so I got right here, is the book of Jasher a reliable source? So the book of Jasher is an apocryphal text and is referenced 2 times in the Bible. So the Bible brings up the book of Jasher. It quotes the book of Jasher in Joshua 10:13, and it says, and the sun stood still and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So in Joshua 10:13, it says, is not this written in the book of Jasher? Also in 2 Samuel 1:18, it says, also he bade them to teach children of Judah the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher. So in 2 Samuel 1:18 and Joshua 10:13, it's quoting the book of Jasher. So this is what I have to say about that. People who tell you not to read this book wants to keep you ignorant. The book of Jasher is mentioned 2 times in the Bible. I'm more than sure the source they are utilizing to stop you from reading the book of Jasher is not even mentioned in the Bible. We have discernment. As much as they want to sit around here and say, oh, well, don't read that, don't read that, don't read that. Based off of who? Who is this that's telling you not to read that? Is it saying that not to read it in the Bible? As it says here, is it not written in the book of Jasher? It said it 2 times. So the book of Jasher is a reliable source, because how do I know that? Because the Bible told me that. And if the Most High cannot preserve his word, then who can, right? If the Most High can't preserve it, if the Most High doesn't know what he's telling me, directing me to go to the book of Jasher. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, we don't have the right. They say we don't have. Who is they? If you look at AI is going to tell you that Tamar was a Canaanite based off of because of how they feel. Because, oh, well, she was in the land of Canaan. Oh, because of this is based off of what they want you to believe. They don't want you to read these extra biblical texts because they want to keep you limited. They also tell you not to read the book of the apocryphal books. But guess what? They still be quoting second address. They go into these books, but then they have these other books. They tell you, oh, no, not to read those, because these people are gatekeepers and they deliberately are lying, and they're deliberately trying to keep you under their hands, under their guise, because they're working with these people too. That's the only conclusion that I can come to tell people not to read certain texts, especially when those texts are actually mentioned in the Bible as a source. Is it not written in the book of Jasher? So it's letting you know that, hey, the book of Jasher is written over here too. So this is a good place to go look at. And so what did we see? We saw that Tamar was a Shemitic woman. Now, why is this such a big deal? Let me get to that point right now. Again, King Judah had one son, Shelah, remaining with his Canaanite wife. So Genesis 46:12, and it says, and the sons of Judah, Onan, and Shelah, and Pharez, and Zerah. So he had what? He had 3 sons with his Canaanite wife and 2 sons with Tamar, who was a Shemitic woman, according to the book of Jasher. And Onan died, and also died. So that left 3 sons. We have Shelah, who was with his Canaanite woman, his Canaanite wife, who he actually married. And then we have Tamar, Perez, and Zerah, who came through Tamar. Now, Shelah, he created the Shilonites, and they were a clan within the tribe of Judah. So let's get back to, does the mother matter? So here we have his last son that he had to his wife, who he actually married, the Canaanite woman. Now, it says here his ancestry was he is the descendant of Shelah. The Shilonites are the descendants of Shelah, son of Judah, and a Canaanite woman. Now it says in Numbers 26-20 and 1 Chronicles 4:21, where they are listed alongside Perizzites and the Zerahite. Skills. They're known for producing fine linen and pottery, working for the king, and having significant roles in ancient Israelite society, despite some interpretation suggesting they were viewed as less prominent. So right here, as you see, AI wanted to make them seem more important than what they really were. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but the Shilonites were actually the house of linen workers. They were actually servants. This is who Judah's son with his Canaanite wife became the house of linen workers. They're the ones who were creating pottery. They were the ones who were creating linen robes, garments, all types of things like that. However, let's take a look at what happened to the sons of Tamar. All right, so Tamar, the Edomite woman, she was the one who established the royal line of Judah. It says Tamar secured the royal line of Judah and ultimately Jesus Christ's lineage. So Yeshua, Jesus Christ's lineage, by strategically ensuring she bore children to her father-in-law. Now, this is what AI is saying. The thing is that she can't do anything to make the Most High recognize her, for Christ to recognize her as the mother and to the royal line. Excuse me, let me restate that. She cannot do anything to make sure that the Most High recognizes her and to utilize her children as the offspring of Christ. She can't do anything about that. So as much as AI wants to say she strategically, she did nothing. Okay, what the Most High did was he recognized her bloodline and recognized that she was of a Shemitic woman, and he made it where Christ's lineage continued on with Judah, okay, through Tamar. So the mother does matter, okay, and we see that right here with Judah, who had a Canaanite woman. He still had a son left with the Canaanite woman, his wife. And we saw that through Tamar, who played the harlot, even though she wasn't a harlot and she did no wrongs. However, the thing is that if the woman doesn't matter and the father's seed matter, then why didn't the Most High just choose the Canaanite woman? It doesn't seem like she did anything. All she was his wife. Why wouldn't he choose his wife's and his son's offspring? Why wouldn't he choose his wife and his son's offspring to continue the royal line, to continue the royal bloodline? Why did his offspring become the house of linen workers? Meanwhile, through the Shemitic woman Tamar, who they want to leave that out, by the way, they want you to believe that she was a Canaanite woman. They even put it out there. They just deliberately, if you go and you just Google it, if you're not even really, paying attention, why would you think that they would lie like that, deliberately lie? To just put Canaanite right there, boom, she's a Canaanite. And then they come back and they say, well, she was in the land of Canaan. Well, no, because what you're doing is that you're making people think that it's okay to marry outside of their race or outside of their tribes. The Most High deliberately said not to marry these people. And then they're saying that, hey, it's okay. And that's why we have a lot of these men out here teaching that it's okay to marry whomever you want to. However, we see right here, and I just showcased to you several women. And right here, the major one is with Judah and Tamar and his Canaanite wife. We see right here that the Most High chose Tamar, who was a Shemitic woman. And it says that through her line is where the royal lineage continued on, where Judah's royal lineage came on, where King David came through, as well as where Christ Yeshua came in. So, guys, I thank you all so much for tuning in. I had a good time. I hope you guys had a good time too. If you have any questions or you have any comments, please leave them below. And as always, please like, share, and subscribe. But right here, it says Tamar secured the royal line of Judah and ultimately Jesus Christ's lineage by strategically ensuring she bore children to her father-in-law. Judah, after his sons died, giving birth to twins Perez and Zerah, with Perez becoming the direct ancestor of King David and the Messiah, highlighting God's redemptive plan, working through unexpected individuals and circumstances to fulfill promises of a royal descendant from Judah. A royal descendant from Judah. So there's all this nonsense about the woman doesn't matter. That's nonsense. We can debunk that easily just with Judah. Okay, and we also can debunk that easily with Esau, because when Esau got with the Canaanite woman, what did he do? He took on their ways, their customs, their cultures. But we see here that the Most High not only destroyed two of Judah's Canaanite children, but one was still alive. And guess what? The Shemites became house of the linen workers. So guess what? The mother was supposed to be a servant, and guess what? The Most High said those children are going to be servants. Meanwhile, he upheld the Shemitic woman Tamar, and that offspring is who we see continued on royal bloodline, a Shemitic woman. But as always, again, thank you guys so much for watching, and Most High bless.